please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log, subdates 230630.1. I've set the weapons array of the Huntress of Domination, what a name, yes quaint, to open fire on any and all life within the kill zone, totally stolen from 7 Days to Die, that is not the Arcadia, and yes, there will be a lot of NPC blood spilt over the weekend. Welcome everyone to This Week at Twitter, or Twat. Today we're going to start with Rammstein, courtesy of Foreign Policy on Twitter. The German band Rammstein's toxic masculinity is part of a right-wing chauvinism that finds ample political expression today in Germany in far-right populism, and is currently on the rise. What a fascinating statement for a band that have often touted themselves as being more left-leaning in a country that is predominantly left-leaning, and is predominantly left-leaning because they're too afraid of being more conservative. That's completely understandable for a country that champions itself as being quite open, inclusive, tolerant, progressive. It makes perfect sense. Calling Rammstein, though, toxic masculinity, this seems like a reactionary response to Rammstein's response to the accusations levied against Till Lindemann, the singer for Rammstein, because Rammstein believe in innocence until proven guilty, which everyone else should. But many people believe, and I would assume, surmise, infer from the Foreign Policy tweet, that they believe Till Lindemann should be removed from Rammstein. No, he bloody well shouldn't. I assume by extension he should be removed from his own solo project. Somebody by the name of Straw Hat Mickey, no idea who they are, tweeted, "You mean this Rammstein?" Included as an image of the two guitarists kissing. They started doing that on stage in protest of Russia's anti-LGBTQ laws. They're so far right, they're so misogynistic, they just can't keep their lips off each other. There is an article as well, by the way, by Foreign Policy, and it's hilarious because this is a sign, everyone, not of the apocalypse, but of an increasingly right-wing zeitgeist. That word gets used a lot, and I don't think it means what they think it means. Often people misuse that word. It's quite amusing. And just to demonstrate the point of the article, we're going to read the first paragraph. It's hard to overlook the way that the tumult and horror prompted by recent charges of sexual misconduct against German band Rammstein reflects the wild scenes that play out at its live performances. For nearly 30 years, the six-man industrial group hailing from East Germany has growled dark and ribald lyrics during stage shows of extravagant pyrotechnics, violent play acting and ear-splitting instrumentals. In light of the accusations, the giant dildos that launch fireballs and standards of its repertoire such as Pussy are finally being examined in much more exacting light. I don't think it means what everyone else is reading into it as meaning. I've been to one of their shows, by the way. They are obscenely loud. The pyrotechnics in a stadium of 75,000 you could feel at the back. It is an absolutely bonkers show. I saw Till Lindemann riding a gigantic penis spraying foam into the audience, which wasn't long after they had actually got onto rubber dinghies and sailed across the audience. So yes, the shows are loud, they're wild, the songs are not remarkably complex, but they resonate with an audience that go to be entertained, and they know how to do it. It's why they do stadiums across the world. It's very expensive to put on such shows, by the way, and the return is great because they've earned the right to be there. They're one of the safest as well. The number of accidents that have happened at their shows are minimal. The second paragraph talks about how they have choreographed the band that is, how Till Lindemann coerces sex with these people, these girls that have levied the accusations against him. The third talk about his costumes. The fourth talks about how Germany is quite sensitive to aggressive misogyny. But that's the point, isn't it? Not to be misogynistic, but to push the boundaries of what is and is not acceptable in your native country. It's why Sam Smith features in the news so much in the United Kingdom, because Sam Smith pushes those boundaries. The shock value has always existed. You've only decided now to label it as misogyny because of accusation alone. Don't forget here, no one was writing about this until those accusations came to light. We must presume innocence until proven guilty in all cases. All cases. If he's found guilty, of course, flay him. Until then, he'll carry on, because they will carry on, touring and entertaining tens of thousands and millions in fact, who pay good money to go and watch them. As someone that has seen them, it's worth it. It really is. Next, we're going to talk about Pokimane. I did this recently on Omegon 2. It's interesting as a subject. Somebody that doesn't really understand many things. Herself, her own power waning on Twitch, but she's still one of the most popular on the site. Her responses to certain issues are quite laughable. I even have a video to accompany it to demonstrate my point.
You need more women around you who are willing to talk. You know what the sad truth is? The way that people treat me deters any other woman in this space from genuinely talking about their honest opinions or behaving how they probably really want to, because they recognize the treatment that they can expect.
While I'm not as arrogant as to think that this doesn't apply to some, the very condescending delivery of a magnanimous point that is not as much of a point as she thinks it is astonishing. Animal, vegetable, or mineral. If you are a streamer on Twitch, chances are you are going to be as frank as you can be, depending on a number of factors. One factor will be Twitch's terms of bloody service that prohibit us from speaking freely. I know you can get away with saying more and acting as if you're above it, but the reality is the Oikari, high member of it, have to play the game, and I'm not female, meaning I am restricted in what I'm allowed to say, think, or do on Twitch or on other platforms where they may pay attention, but they won't because I'm a nobody. You're a somebody. You're in the top 10, but you try to act as if you're a nobody, which is astonishing. You speak your mind and you bully people. You've been outed as a bully in the past, by the way. A dirty one, but a bully nonetheless. Now, there is a bit more context to that video. Carvos tweeted it out. We'll get to that in a second, so you can play the anecdotal evidence she presents to support her point. But we're going to go to some other responses first. Keemstar. Pokimane in the year of our Lord 2023 is still refusing to accept that people don't like her based on her character.
They don't like me because I'm woman.
Is getting old. Try being a better person. Carvos. Maybe people wouldn't jump on your ass if you didn't constantly give shit takes. Starts drama and you open yourself to that. Pokimane acts like she's some angel. Retweeted by Boblax. She can't take responsibility for what she says. I assume responsibility. Using gender as an excuse. Yes, the hate against her is probably amplified because she's a woman, but if she was a man, she'd get shit on her for her takes. There's tons of other big girl streamers that don't get in controversy. A point that undoubtedly goes over her head as she lives in her ivory tower and believes she's the only woman that can have a voice, or has a voice. Chris the Narc retweeted Drama Alert that had tweeted out, Pokimane says how she gets treated deters other female streamers. The anecdotal evidence we'll get to in a moment, by saying my honest reaction to Poki using the same talking point she's used for years. A picture of, well, I assume that's Tipster, it's hard to tell, he's not vomiting in this picture. So now I'm going to play the remainder of the context you didn't have. The anecdotal evidence she presents to make her grand point. By the way, I did notice in her chat, some people were in fact criticizing her for her take. It's not a good take. It really isn't. It's a massive assertion using anecdotal evidence, and here is the anecdotal evidence.
Girl, I will never forget one time I had a girl come up to me and she's like, oh, I stream sometimes. She basically said, she was like, but I'm way too scared to stream without makeup because I saw what people like did to you. And I was like, that's so f***ing sad.
This one time at band camp, some random person said something to me. I remember no specifics of this, but I'll give you the Cliff's Notes of the Cliff's Notes of the Cliff's Notes of the Cliff's Notes. It's totally convincing because I said it. Next, I'm going to insert a tweet from Keemstar and Def Noodles, because this one I'm actually quite impressed with. Keemstar, as many of our viewers know, Dennis and I have been involved in a lawsuit over a tweet that I posted in May of 2021. The tweet was directed at Def Noodles, and in response to various tweets, Def Noodles have posted about me and other influencers. The tweet was intended as a joke to mock the Def Noodles character consistent with the character's other posts and satirical themes. I did not intend to state anything factual about Dennis Feitosa himself. While I do not believe our viewers who are familiar with our content took this out of satirical realm, to the extent anyone did, I am now posting this for clarification. I certainly did not intend any harm to come to Dennis by making the tweet, and to the extent Dennis felt any harm, I have apologized to Dennis and we have now resolved our differences. I am happy that Dennis and I have reached an amicable resolution to our dispute. We intend to move forward as friends and allies, and we will be collaborating on a podcast in the near future. You have my attention. Retweeted by Def Noodles. I accept your apology and I appreciate you acknowledging the harmful effects this had on me. Thank you for removing it. Glad we worked this out and are moving forward as friends and allies. Here's to new beginnings. What's interesting really is this whole swing around thing for Death Noodles. He recently met up with a number of creators within the commentary community. They did a show together. I believe they had invited Tipster along, who did not turn up. He was less than interested in being here. And I'll insert a tweet from Chris the Narc. Tipster, I don't want to talk about the commentary community anymore. Goes on Keffel's stream and talks about the community. Boblax, heard he was talking about us all of last week too. If only he was willing to say it to my face. And I think that would have been interesting, because in that moment, Death Noodles has taken the place of Tipster, and Tipster is where Death Noodles was. I don't want anyone to go through that downward slide, certainly not in the way that Death Noodles did. He's rebuilding, and I do believe everyone deserves a chance to do that, and I do believe he can do it. In the case of Tipster, he's going to have to go through this and learn the lesson the hard way. Death Noodles has learnt the lesson, and is now doing a podcast with Keemstar, which will do him well in the long run anyway, or short term. Maybe long term? Who knows? If you don't listen to the Death Noodles show, by the way, where he talks to people he disagrees with or has had disagreements with in the past, you should watch it, or give it a listen, because to hear the sides of these different opinions, and to hear them flesh the ideas out, the arguments out, reach amicable resolutions, or simply agree to disagree is a fascinating aspect of discourse. And to see it unfold in this show is great. It really is. And I do think had Tipster gone along, there could have been a chance of him and Boblax at least having a conversation. No offense to you, Tipster, if you see this, but you've been a bit of a dick of late. And I don't understand why, I still do not. I said it a few times of late. Whatever your motivations are, you're looking like the world's biggest tosser. Hypocritical as well, and very manipulative, certainly when it came to your ethos of old. But kudos to Death Noodles and Keemstar for resolving their issues and publicly showing it has been resolved. That's key. Once people see that, people will then start to resonate, change, go with it, embrace it. I guess it also means Death Noodles doesn't have to give Keemstar his play button anymore.